We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Maverick Presents After Dark. It's a little after dark. It's about 9:15. It is Tuesday, October 29th. The Dallas Mavericks are now 3-1 after defeating the Minnesota Timberwolves on the road in what I feel assign as of their 3 wins in 4 games as probably the most declarative win for all sorts of reasons. Josh, how you doing?
Doing good. Early game, good win. Lots to talk about too, like you said. So we've kind of got the trifecta of the makings of a good podcast here. Because that was hell of a game. Yeah, like you said, easily the best win of the season. And I was thinking, like, walking back to my computer, like, as we're through this, I was like, what are we, like, so much happened in this game. I know it's our job to figure out the best parts or the things that we feel are the most important to talk about, but it's going to be really hard with this game because I feel like every other possession there was just something I noticed, whether it was good or bad or just notable. Really back and forth game for the most part, like a really physical game. Like this felt like a playoff game. I mean, it absolutely felt like this was game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. Like it felt like that series just picked up right where it left off.
Well, and I think we owe it to everybody to sort of. So if you didn't watch this game, and again, it's October, it's the 4th game of the season. Yes, it's a national TV game, but you know what? If you don't want to throw yourself into the Mavs just yet, you're just catching up. Can't say I blame you. You missed a fun one though, because what happened in this one was Anthony Edwards came out throwing haymakers. I mean, absolute haymakers. The Mavericks were guarding him well. He poured in 24 points. And yet, at the end of the first quarter, the Mavericks found themselves down just 8. And as David Trink and I were talking during the playback, it feels like the Mavs are just going to hang around here, which, let's be clear, the Mavericks were playing their 3rd game in 4 nights in 3 different cities. Okay. This was schedule loss to the T, to where if they would have come out and lost a close one, I think we would have come in here and still had a lot of stuff to talk about. But the fact that they took a lot of body blows from the Minnesota Timberwolves and walked away with the W, you talked about the things you were seeing, both good and bad, from possession to possession. I'll tell you what I see when I look at this team. This team has a massive margin for error because they possess a lot of raw talent and ability. And they have, once they figure out how to hone and get the most out of one another at the right time. And again, it's a long season. They're scary. And this was the first game where I was like, oh, okay, this is a differently built team. What did you think?
Yeah, I think so as well. Not to start. I mean, I guess we start from the, not to, I don't know, I'm starting from the third quarter, but like what the thing that jumped out to me was really that third quarter. And again, the fact that they had a lead at the end of the first half, despite the Wolves making 6 more 3-pointers than the Mavericks did in the first half.
That's hard.
That's this new team, right? Like they will give up some threes and they might not match you at the 3-point line like they used to in Luka's first 2, 3, 4 seasons, like that version of the Mavericks. But this version beats your ass at the rim and beats your ass in the paint. And that's their identity. And that's what they did. They outscored the Wolves by a bunch in the first half in the paint, finished with a pretty healthy margin, points in the paint, end of the game, 52-38 against the Wolves team that has Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, and Naz Reid, and Anthony Edwards, who's a paint menace as well. That's just this team. They score in the paint and they do their best to take away the paint from you. And I think that's something to hang their hat on. And I think it's a sustainable identity. Now, what happened in the third quarter, which really opened my eyebrows, and honestly, like that third quarter is like a thesis on why this Mavericks team can win a championship this season. Not to get too over my skis here, but you had Luka injuring his knee right before halftime, comes out to start the third quarter, and he does not look right.
No, he looked terrible.
He had 3 awful possessions to start the third quarter. Team, they lose their lead. They're down by multiple possessions. I think they got down by like 7 or 8 after Luka. Like it looked like Luka was trying to like wake his knee up, like he was trying to play his way into feeling better, and it wasn't happening. They call timeout. They get down a little bit, and then from there, Luka was not a non-factor, but he wasn't the factor. He took a step aside, and the rest of the team made plays and got them into the game. And not only got them back in the game, they took a double-digit lead into the fourth quarter. They were up 11 to end the third quarter. With Luka not having much to do with the third quarter in terms of raw like points and assists.
Kyrie was like masterclass. Like what we've hoped for from Kyrie he was just so good.
Kyrie was so good. Everyone was good. Like Lively was good all game, but like Lively, Grimes, Najee Marshall had a couple of good plays in the third. PJ Washington was good in the third, but he was good for most of the game. Gafford had some good, like the way that they were able to see, okay, Luka's not right. His knee's not feeling well. Like he's still in pain. We have to go to plan B. And we've seen the Mavericks in the Luka era that when Luka doesn't have it, the plan B, even after the Kyrie Irving trade, has not looked great. And we saw in the NBA Finals against the Celtics that when teams dare the Mavericks to play one-on-one, they dare Luka to beat them, it's just hard to win that way. And I didn't get this story written before the season, and I need to write it before we get to I need to write it. Like you need to kick my ass and tell me to write the story. But I wanted to write a story about how the next step for Luka and the Mavericks is that like if they want to win a championship, he just can't do everything. And I went back and I looked at like the last 10 finals winners and the usage rate of the top usage player. And it's not 36, 34, 35, 36, 38, which is what Luka gets up to. It's like 30. I think like the highest of like the last 10 years of a finals winner is like LeBron at 30 or like 31. A lot of 27, 28. Like as much as basketball can be dominated by one individual, to win a championship with the level of talent in this league, you can't ask one guy to literally just do everything, which the Mavericks had been asking Luka to do for, last 5 or so years. The third quarter showed that they have a roster that can win without Luka needing to do everything. And I thought it was the most impressive quarter I've seen them play in some time. Obviously, some of the playoff games were very impressive.
It was the best quarter this season.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And it showed like, okay, they can, if Luka doesn't have it, they can do this. They have options. And that's kind of what you were hinting at before you kind of passed it off to me. there's just so many dudes now that do so many different things that just doesn't feel. They don't have to walk up the floor and let Luka run high pick and roll and be like, all right, figure it out, score.
I mean, in fact, I think we can make the argument that Luka's not running enough fucking pick and roll. It's driving me crazy.
Well, teams are playing a little different. They're not doubling him now.
Yeah.
They're taking away the easy stuff. But again, they had a counter in the third quarter. I mean, like Gafford and Lively handling the ball at the elbows, off-ball offense, Kyrie doing stuff. Clay didn't have a big game, but like his presence was felt in terms of his floor gravity. Like PJ doing, like, Najee Marshall had 3 assists and 0 turnovers in 16 minutes. I know he didn't make any shots, but like it was just impressive the way that they were able to slowly crush the life out of a contender on the contender's home floor without Luka needing to like spoon feed everyone, and like how often have we said this Mavericks team in Luka era has done that? And that's not a slight to Luka or anything. It's more like this is how you help Luka take the next step. Is you can't ask him to be the alpha and omega of every possession.
Well, and he's not been. And I want to talk about that real quick. Do you know how bad? Do you know how poorly Luka's shooting this year? Have you looked? Because I did.
I don't know the exact number, but I know it's not good.
He is shooting 36 for 99 from the floor overall. So 36% from the floor overall. 3-pointers, he is now, how many did he make tonight? 1 of 8. He is 11 of 41 from 3. Luka's been dog water compared to the Luka that we know. They're 3-1. Like this is like watching a fantasy football team and if you drafted Christian McCaffrey first overall and you're still winning, you just you're like, all right, well, what the shit happens when that guy comes back? And again, I don't point this out the bag on Luka. I'm saying
this is a good thing, like in a way.
It's a great thing because we know Luka will come around. We know he's going to start to hit. It's the ones that are absolutely killing me right now. I hate the step back 15-footer from the left elbow that I don't think he's made once. And I hate the left side runners that he just hasn't gotten to fall yet. So he's going to be fine. There's no question about that. I've really thought his defensive efforts have been better. There were multiple instances tonight of rotation, closeout from the team that I'm sitting there watching it going, this is stellar defense. And so it's like, if you're getting your bread and butter of what makes the Dallas Mavericks that we saw post All-Star break all the way to the finals, if you're getting that established now, then the high hopes we had for this team are more than justified.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you saw some stuff with Luka, like, again, when the team was running up they weren't running up the score, but when they were building a lead in the third quarter, it wasn't just Luka standing in the corner. Like, he did move a little bit off the ball. Like, he's coming off pin downs and catching dribble handoffs at the elbow.
He got hurt moving off the ball.
He's never going to do it again.
Like, there was a Lively offensive rebound where Lively should have right hook and then got his own rebound, and he ended up hitting a left hook. It was over.
I remember that play.
Do you remember that?
Yep.
Luka was standing at the right wing the whole time, and I remember looking at it going, if he just dives, he can get a dunk. Now, bizarre of me thinking Luka Doncic is going to dive and get a dunk, but just that's my basketball brain. But like he's moving. And yeah, Kevin Hong in the chat says the Mavericks aren't running pick and roll exclusively. Luka is adjusting to do what he needs to do to get the ball, get better looks, and the 3 is going to fall eventually. That's correct. That's the correct take. And
yeah,
by focusing on or drawing attention to Luka's struggle game and the fact that the Mavericks are winning, the ceiling for me and the floor to a certain extent are both raising. And I'm really up there with this. This was a lot of fun. I actually don't know what to talk about next because I'm a little giddy.
Well, we can talk about how like the fourth quarter, they did like the exact opposite of everything they did in the third, where they kind of reverted to no passing, one-on-one isolation hero ball. But I kind of in the moment forgot that this was their third game in 4 nights and their third city in 4 nights.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they were obviously looking gassed toward the end of the fourth. Like that kind of explains a lot. Like when you're tired, it's hard you don't want to cut, like we know, like I know that we haven't played competitive ball in a while, but we both, I mean, anyone that's played basketball, even if you're just playing pickup, like when you're exhausted, you don't want to set screens, and you don't want to cut down the lane. So that makes a lot more sense. Cause in the moment I was like, what are they doing? Like they did it. So they were doing this so great in the third quarter. Now they're kind of throw it away, but yeah, now, back to back, third game in 4 nights, third city in 4 nights. That makes a lot of sense. But
you know that before I said it?
I did not. I knew back to back, but like I totally didn't think about 3 cities in 4 nights and 3 games of 4. Like it.
Well, because I thought tonight's was a home game, and somebody pointed it out to me before because I just hadn't checked the calendar, and I'm like, "What the hell is the NBA doing?" They go San Antonio, Phoenix, Dallas, Minnesota. Like that's a lot of air miles in a week.
Yeah, for sure. But they close it out, and then, it's funny because I just had this long soliloquy about how they can do all this without Luka, and I'm sure anyone that didn't watch is looking at the box score is like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Because Luka and Kyrie, they combined for 60 or 59 points, and they only had 2 other Mavericks in double digits. But you just look like there were just contributions everywhere, and fourth quarter, that's the thing about this team is it's like, okay, they stopped doing all that stuff, but it's like Luka, Kyrie, Gobert, like they just hit those step back threes, and it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Even when you guard them and you get them into what you want them to do, which is the Mavericks stagnating and playing one-on-one ball, like you kind of like they're the two of the best one-on-one players in the league right now. So it's like that's not even necessarily a reliable solution. And we saw with Kyrie's dagger step back 3 and Luka's dagger step back 3 that pretty much ended the game. But what was nice in the fourth is that even when the offense got horrifically stagnant in the fourth, they were still doing stuff, all the other stuff to keep them in the game. Like they were guarding a little bit better in times, although there was a stretch there where the Kyrie, Clay, Luka trio in crunch time, the Wolves were kind of bullying them a little bit on the defensive end. But like PJ and Lively's ability to just kind of plug gaps. Like Lively had like the best 5.9 rebound game I can remember. Like, I don't know, but you want to talk about Lively because I was really smitten with him and PJ tonight. So we can go either way.
Let's talk about him, PJ, Kyrie when we come back from a short break. So once again, everybody who's hanging out with us in here, we know you have your choice in post-game shows. Shout out to people who with our friends at DLLS who are also doing one. We Talk Mavs who do a post-game show. I think my man Bibbs occasionally does one, but theirs is much more of a broader recap show. There's a lot of live show options is my point. Mavs Digest did something during the game, but we appreciate you guys hanging out here with us. If you've not hit the subscribe button, consider it. If you've not, what are the other options? If you've not left a comment on the show, please do so after the fact. If you are a audio subscriber, please consider leaving us a review and subscribing to the show. We are very grateful of those sorts of things. Now I think what Josh and I are going to do is insert a quick ad, and we will be right back.
Now, 2 pigeons bemoaning the fact you can stream DirecTV satellite-free.
These humans can stream all the top-rated national news channels on DirecTV, and now with no satellite dish.
This just in. Weather, sports, election coverage. DirecTV has it all, but something is missing. The satellite dish.
What are you doing?
I'm reporting the news. Back to you, Bob.
Here's some news. You're a buffoon.
Stream the top-rated national news channels. No satellite dish. Visit DirecTV.com. Internet required. Top-rated news based on 2023 Nielsen ratings.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
I did forget to mention that I'm going to do a secondary show tonight. I didn't do one after the win the other night. No, it was after the loss, the Suns lost. Brian Roby and I chatted for about 20 minutes last night. If anybody else wants to join, I'll be posting that link in the YouTube in the middle of the show here, and you guys can join. And we can talk a little basketball, celebrate the things that you guys find interesting or found fun. That's the whole point of this thing, is to enjoy the sport, and wins are nice. Now, Josh, I think we should pivot back to. I'd kind of like to Kyrie or Lively? Dealer's choice here. What do you think?
Well, let's start with Kyrie, because I feel like I've been harping. I mean, I've been riding Lively all season and just kind of gushing about him, but we haven't really talked much about Kyrie to start the season, and he's Kyrie. This was like
he kept things humming for this offense. While Luka was simply unable to score for portions of the game. 35 points on 23 shots, 6 of 8 from 3. The 3 ball that he's been taking lately just looks beautiful. He was hilariously 3 of 5 from the free throw line, which is like his best place to shoot from. He had 5 assists to go with 4 rebounds. He only had 1 turnover. I thought he played really good defense. He was just sort of an everywhere on the floor kind of guy. He's not, you would assume for a guy who's his size, at a certain point teams would target him. He's just not a weakness on that end of the floor. He's so impressive, and I really like watching him operate, because you just don't know what the hell he is going to do next. He can pass the ball. The lefty finishes are so, I don't want to say they're undervalued or under discussed, but they amaze me every time they happen. And I've really enjoyed watching him these past 2 games in particular, because I haven't felt there's been any of the extra, I don't know, there's just like a try hard or like an elevation of difficulty that can be a part of his game. And I thought that his execution these past 2 were really impressive.
Yeah, that third quarter was magnificent. He had 16 points in the third quarter on 6 of 10 shooting, 4 of 6 from 3. He's been shooting the 3 well all season. Like, even he's been struggling from 2 in a couple of games, but he's been good from 3 since night 1 against the Spurs. And there were times in the first quarter where it was that thing again, where Luka goes out and like Dinwiddie came in, and Kyrie was just kind of like chilling in the corner while Dinwiddie was like holding the ball and dribbling the air out of the ball. And I'm just thinking like, what is go get the ball and like run offense. You are all NBA Kyrie Irving. Like you are finals game-winning final shot Kyrie Irving. Why are you, deferring to Dinwiddie? And I know a lot of that is just like, he does that purposefully. And I think, there's a reason why so many players like Kyrie and enjoy playing with him. Like, there's definitely like a method to that. That's not just him like doing that just to do it. Like, I think he truly believes in letting other guys touch the ball a lot, even sometimes to the detriment of what's going on the floor. But it pays off. The locker room usually has been pretty good with Kyrie since he's been in Dallas. But then in the second half, I felt like he was much more assertive with Luka, both off the ball and when Luka was off the court. And yeah, he was terrific. Just like the shot making was just absolutely terrific. The variety of shots, like you said, I like that he had some post up kind of plays in the paint.
Yep.
That's a pretty nice weapon for a guy his size. It's just so unorthodox. Even when he's being guarded, like I think he was being guarded by Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and he got him on a spin move in the third quarter and got fouled and went to the line. And it's like Nickeil has like 2 inches and like a 6'7", 6'8" wingspan, and Kyrie posted him up like he was not like, like he was Kyrie size. And I thought, that kind of stuff is just impressive and just adds to the variety of the attack. They don't just have to keep spamming high pick and roll. And then this way that they're doing more dribble handoffs with Luka, like it's going to Kyrie as well. And Kyrie is so good on handoffs with his shooting ability, and the way that his jumper is dangerous from anywhere he touches the ball. There's those handoffs when he gets ahead of steam. They're tough to guard when they're doing that, especially with Kyrie. So and then of course he hits the big 3 late to make up for missing 2 free throws kind of toward the end of the game. So. I think he missed the 2 free throws after he made the big 3. But either way, his game was awesome, and I think he's picking up where he's left off. Like there's just nothing I don't, he broke his hand all this summer and didn't really play basketball. So I expected a little bit of a slow start. But he's been at 40% or better from 3 in every game. His 2-pointers have been hit or miss, but like he's been absolutely great. There's like nothing else to really say. Like he's been exactly what the team has needed through the first 4 games.
Well, and then there's the aforementioned Dereck Lively, who had just a shockingly, I feel like he was everywhere kind of game. 27 minutes, but he only had 5 points and 9 rebounds, 4 offensive rebounds that were huge. He had 1 assist, then he had 4 combined stocks, which are steals and blocks, only 1 turnover. He ended up as just a +3 in those 27 minutes, but it's just he's out there on the floor. He needs to tighten up his defensive rebounding. He's still a little goofy there because he goes for some shot blocking things that I think he needs to chill out on. But overall, just kind of a mesmerizing game from a guy that's in his second year. I know he's going to be lost for such a significant portion of his career. Lost maybe isn't right, but held in a different light compared to Wemby and Chet. And it is what it is. Comparison is the thief of joy, but every game he plays, like, man, this dude's special, and I'm delighted.
Yeah, just watching his defensive possessions tonight, like the way he just fills every gap. And the Mavericks don't have a perfect defensive roster. They start Kyrie, Luka, and Clay. You're gonna have some limitations there on your perimeter defense, and that's not even taking a shot at those guys. Like, it's just kind of how it is. And, there are times when Lively's playing on the floor and the best he's got to make up for a lot is what I'm saying. He covers so much ground. There's so many possessions. Like, you could just see Minnesota's like, okay, first option. Nope. Cause Lively shuts it off. Second option. Nope. Lively like the way he's able to just, I don't know. I hate to just keep using analogies, but he just shuts off the water. Like, Minnesota is doing something. He meets someone at the rim. Okay, they got to kick
Randall
out.
Was baffled by him. Like, Randall is a guy who just kind of pushes his way through problems, and he had nothing. I would love to see the matchup data between those two tonight.
Yeah, and it might not even come out, because Randall was 7 of 13.
A great game. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's not like he shot poorly. It's less about like what people are shooting against Lively and more what they're not doing because of his presence. Like, just the way that he kind of just appears, when as a help defender. And it's like, it's not that he forces a missed shot. He forces a kick out and, or maybe a turnover or something like that. And, like he just keeps doing it. And, he didn't have a perfect game. And obviously, like, he had a couple defensive possessions that he probably wished to have back. He offensively had didn't have an impactful game, but that's more just how the Wolves kind of guard him and just wanted to take away the easy stuff. But defensively, I just can't get over just how smart he is for being a 20-year-old. And we said that last year, but like, the Wolves tried to do stuff like they try. It's the Mavericks outscored them. Let me see what it was. 52-38 in the paint. And I don't think the Wolves paint number being under 40 was like a lack of effort. Like, the way Lively was just able to kind of meet wherever the Wolves were trying to take him. It was just impressive. It was absolutely impressive.
Yeah. And then we got PJ Washington, who he does one thing that makes me go, how? And then he does something else that makes me go, whoa. So 17 points, 8 rebounds, where he splits the offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds, 3 assists and a steal. He finally found his 3-ball tonight. He was 3 of 17. No, 3 of 16, I think, coming into the game. And then he, of course, boofed a wide open one from Luka, and one of the really cool passes Luka likes to make. But he found a little bit of a shot. He drove, like, he had some nice plays in transition tonight. Mm-hmm. Guarded a lot of the different guys for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And really, in 32 minutes, kind of gave you the whole package of what you can hope for when it comes to PJ Washington.
Yeah, this feels kind of like a ceiling game for him. Like, why? Like, when he has these bad games, and you're just like why? And it's like, because this is in him. Like, this wasn't like the stuff he did tonight. When he has these games like this, it doesn't feel fluky. You know what I mean? Like, despite the fact that he's had some inconsistent games, at least offensively, like this just doesn't. You just watch him, and all these things he's doing feels natural to him. Like he is a gifted and talented basketball player. And this goes back to the point I made last year, where it was like he went to Kentucky, he was a 12th overall pick. Like this guy is not some dude second round grinder that's just playing above his weight class and occasionally gets hot from three and everything looks good. Like he's a talented dude. He's super athletic. He's super athletic. And when the talent and the athleticism comes together for him and in a right way, you have games like these where, he's making shots, he's making good passes in transition. Like you said, he's rebounding well. He's guarding like 4 different guys over the course of a handful of possessions. He was tasked with guarding Anthony Edwards, and I know Edwards had a meteor game tonight, but so much of that damage was the first quarter and second half. Edwards didn't do as much damage, and I think you can attribute some of that to PJ Washington's defense. So that versatility is something the Mavericks haven't had from like a forward, like from that 3-4 position in the Luka era. Like their 3-4s for the first few seasons, not to discount those players, were very static players. PJ can be very dynamic when he's going right. And I think he showed that off tonight. I don't know that the thing is, can he stack them and be more consistent? And we'll see. We'll have to see. But he's got 2 in a row because this was kind of a similar game against Utah. And so he's put together 2 of them in a row, and let's see where he goes from there.
One PJ play that just sticks in my brain was he got a long offensive rebound off of, maybe it was somebody's shot, but it like front rimmed, and he caught it near the 3-point line, and he's driving in, and he's in that in-between space between the free throw line and the 3-point line, and he finds a drifting Kyrie Irving in the right corner and just lasers a pass. It wasn't between 2 defenders, but it was not an easy read. It just put it right in Kyrie's shooting pocket, and you're like, all right, this is good stuff. And if you're feeling good about this game, like the players we've discussed so far, and just sort of the feel of things, somebody pointed out, Gafford with I think he had 8 points in the first quarter, really started things going. Najee, you mentioned the Najee Marshall of it all. I was delighted.
That great steal from Najee to seal the game against Edwards, which was pretty good.
I really the Quentin Grimes minutes were pretty funny to me. Grimes makes a 3 and then he misses a 3, and then it felt like Kidd pulled him because he missed the 3. And then he returned later only to hit 2 more big 3s. It's just the Mavericks are very multiple. They have a lot of options. Hardy he hit 1 shot, and then he had 1 turnover, and then we never saw him again. And then you had Spencer Dinwiddie, who played just a bizarre game where he ends up with a team leading +8, despite being 1 for 5 with a turnover and a bad offensive foul on Ant. Like it was. I really love this game. They need to win games. This game wasn't in the mud. That's not what I mean. But sometimes you just got to find a way to fight through shit. And if we've talked a lot about how the Mavericks need to win the grimy games when they don't really want to play, and this felt like one of those.
Yeah, for sure. Like back to back, the travel, the 3 and 4 nights. Yeah, it's impressive. And something we haven't really called out yet that we probably should as we're getting near the end. Like this might be the stat key of the game. Wolves had 20 turnovers. Mavs had 9.
Wow.
And you look at, and this is the thing that killed the Wolves against the Mavericks in the conference finals. You look at the Mavericks' 2 best players, 2 best offensive players, Luka and Kyrie. They combined for 4 turnovers. Kyrie had 1, Luka had 3. The Wolves' 2 best offensive players, Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle, they combined for 8. Kyrie and Luka combined had less turnovers than Anthony Edwards on his own. And that's, to me, that's like the difference between these. There's more to it than that. But you just see these games, the script just, it follows it every time. Is just, it gets into crunch time. And the Wolves just don't have that playmaker. They just don't really know where to go. Like they want to go to Ant, but Ant still needs to get one more like level of being that offensive option and playmaker, and he's just not there yet, and he gets a little loose with the ball. And then you've got like Kyrie and Luka, who, in crunch time might drive you crazy with kind of dribbling the air out of the ball and all that, but they get shots, and they're pretty good at clutch shots, and they don't turn the ball over. And you can win a lot of clutch games that way. And I think that kind of showed up again in this game.
That's a bingo. All right, you're right. Let's get on out of Dodge, or at least wrap up this portion of the show. Before we get out of here, I want to give 4 quick shout-outs. First, my man Henry saying Luka been Scooby-Doo for 48 hours.
Scooby-Doo-Doo.
That's a good one. We got my man Glenn out in Nevada he says a glorious win. Thank you so much, Glenn. We got Brian saying an amazing effort on a second night of a back-to-back, 3rd and 4 nights. Absolutely right. And then Twan, hope I'm saying that right, Lively will end up being the second best player from last year's draft. I love that take. It's fire. For anybody that's waiting, I posted the secondary show link into the chat. I'm going to cut to a quick break for audio listeners. They'll get the follow-up show at some point tomorrow. If you'd like to join me up here, all you got to do is click that StreamYard link, and then we can talk a little basketball, and we'll see what's going on. Josh, you enjoy the rest of your night. We're done before 10 p.m., even though we got editing to do. This has been fun. Thanks so much, guys, and let's go Mavs.